Do you listen to podcasts? What's in your ear? Hi, it's Lottie, and today what I thought I would do is I'm gonna practice a little holiday makeup look. I used to wear makeup all the time. I used to really be into makeup. My girlfriends and I, we would get together, and we had all the
curling irons in one section of the dresser, and then we had our makeup brushes in another section of the counter.
I was really into makeup. And then of course life keeps happening and you have different iterations of yourself, But coming full circle, I'm getting back into it a little bit. So what I thought I'd do is practice a holiday makeup look because it is just before the week in which I have a few festive things going on. I'm looking forward to that, and you never know. Hey, I want to look my best. But while I'm at it, I thought I would do something else. Like here I am feeding two birds with one stone, because I'm going to do a pod haul or a podcast haul. I'm going to talk about some of my favorite podcasts from what year is it? Oh my God, I almost said 2012. Why am I 5 years behind? Anyway, I'm going to talk about my favorite podcasts. I shouldn't say my favorite. I'm going to say my most listened to podcasts of the past year, 2017. So let's get started. First going to jump in with this. It is my primer that I'm going to put on called Baby Skin. And this just provides a nice smooth surface for your makeup to go on. And we're just going to put that on. Anyway, so do you listen to podcasts? I am just now getting into it, I think. I feel like I'm behind, but I have a pretty lengthy commute going back and forth when I work a lot of times, and I end up being in the car for quite a number of hours during the week. I actually have been working to reduce the number of hours I'm in the car, but over this year, I really was spending a lot of time in the car. So I figured out how to listen to podcasts because luckily my radio had a little USB port that I could plug my phone into and it would flow through the speakers. I think you can do the same thing if you have a aux cord, or there may be other ways to do it on your car radio. I'm not sure. Yeah, so I started listening to podcasts because I really don't listen to the radio. I don't listen to the radio too much, and I was like, oh, this would be an excellent opportunity to learn something new, right? So anyway, started listening to podcasts. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is hit this under eye area here where there might be dark circles, and I'm going to do this this here product. I can't even read this. I need my readers on. Eye Duty Triple Remedy brightens, depuffs, and smooths for whatever. Anyway, and I'm going to put that on with this e.l.f. Professional Foundation Brush. It does seem to go on a little bit better when I use the brush, okay? So, back to the podcast, right? In no order of favorite, like I said, it's just the ones that I listen to the most. So the first on my list would be the Moth Radio Hour. Now, I am just a fan of stories. Our lives are narratives, right? There are plenty of narratives at play. And the Moth Radio Hour, which the Moth, Storytime at the Moth, I believe, started like a stand-up, like open mic night. I'm used, like for poetry, but it would be a story, and the participants had, I guess, like 5 minutes or so, or maybe, 5 minutes to tell a story. And it's supposedly you gotta say supposedly, was true. And they didn't do it with notes or anything, and they would just get up there. So the Moth Radio Hour podcast is rebroadcasts of those live story times. So I really enjoy it. It's an hour. It gets me exactly from point A to B. And just a few that are worth noting. I mean, there's so many good ones. Like I would not be able to run down the whole list. But just to pick your curiosity, there was the episode about the Freedom Riders and Me with Barbara Collins Bowie, which talks about how this one woman got involved with the Freedom Riders. Another episode that I particularly liked was called Where We Belong, and one of the storytellers, to my surprise, was a Detroit activist speaking on the foreclosure crisis. So that was a really surprising twist. I didn't know that was going to be on there. And again, each one is about, some of them are single episodes, but most of them are 4 episodes. So that's the first one, the Moth Radio Hour, which is like stand-up story time at its best. So the next product I'm going to use is another concealer. This is by NARS in the color Ginger, and it's a regular concealer that provides a little more coverage, and you can use it in other areas than under your eye. So one that I always recommend when someone asks for a good podcast to listen to, like while driving or traveling, is Beautiful Anonymous. So it's a pretty cool concept. It's their tagline says 1 call, 1 hour, no names, no holds barred. So they put the phone number out there and anyone can call in, and it is a podcast that is hosted by, I guess he's a comedian, but I don't watch him as a comedian. His name is Chris Gethard. I feel like he has a particular skill for moving the conversation along, and of course he chimes in with his views sometimes, but the caller is never named and can't give away their geographic location or too much information to where the listening audience might know who they are. And they just talk for an hour. Chris can't hang up. The caller can, if they should so choose. The caller could hang up. It's just really, really interesting who calls in for what. So some of the episodes that you might want to check out, if you decide to check it out, that I particularly liked. I mean, I liked all of them, but I'm just giving you these, like I said, to to pick your interest. But there was one episode called Make Fruit Baskets Great Again, and that was interesting because it features a woman. She's a domestic abuse survivor and a Trump supporter, and she's just talking about life. And I don't know how often I would get to speak with, I don't know how often we get to speak with folks that may hold views that are very, very different than ours and have the opportunity to possibly see some samenesses, I thought it was a really good episode. Another one, I think one of the first ones that I listened to, which really got me like, what is this? What is this? It was called A Real Life Superhero. And I'm not going to say what it's all about. I'll just say that it features a military veteran and a Ouija board. So that was a super interesting conversation. So that's the Beautiful Anonymous podcast. I really, really appreciate and enjoy that when I'm driving back and forth for something to listen to. I'm supposed to be striving for a holiday look? Well, that's not holiday. Whatever. Okay, so I guess I'm going to do my eyes next. I said this was going to be a special holiday look. Maybe I'm being a little too tame with it, but I am using my Tarte palette called Don't Quit Your Daydream. I'm gonna use this color right here, which is called Lovey, like lovey-dovey, I guess. And I'm just gonna put that all over my lid. Boss lady. And put that right here so we have a little more sparkle, right? I feel like whatever I do is pretty understated, and because I said this is a holiday look, that I should pop this up just a little bit more. So what I broke out with was my Ulta Prismatic palette, and I'm gonna try the shade. I'm gonna go with this here, Midnight Blue, called Believe. I think it'll play off of these earrings nicely, although I don't like to be too matchy-matchy, but still, let's just have fun with that for a minute. So the next podcast that I really listened to a lot and enjoyed throughout 2017 was Stuff You Missed in History Class. I don't remember them telling me this stuff in history class. I don't think they did. Maybe that's the the play on the title. It's hosted by two young women by the name of Holly and Tracy, and they really cover and unpack a lot of historical events and historical moments and share things that you may have never known about it. A few of their episodes that I really enjoyed were, one was called The Calicax and the Eugenicists. And it really goes over the beginning of the eugenics movement and how it got started. That was pretty fascinating, if not troublesome, to say the least. Another episode that I really enjoyed was called The Motherhood of Mamie Till Mobley, who is the mother of Emmett Till, the young man who was murdered at the beginning of what became the civil rights movement. And that episode talks about all the efforts this mother has made over the course of the rest of her life to make sure her son's death wasn't in vain. Holiday eyes. What are we thinking? The next podcast that I really enjoyed listening to quite a bit in 2017, of course, has to do with food. Now, I have a lot of podcasts on my subscription list, so maybe this will become a monthly or weekly roundup so that I could get through them all. And I have a lot of new ones that I'm looking forward to really digging into in 2018. But the next one I'm going to talk about, of course, has to do with food, and it's called The Sporkful. And I really like the way their lead-in says this is a podcast for eaters and not for foodies. So they really are talking about down-home cooking, especially food that evokes memories or cultural connections. So one of my favorite episodes was actually a 4-part series called Your Mother's Food, and it was all on race, culture, and food. And just as an example, one of the episodes was speaking with mothers of adopted children who had come from other countries and how they learned of the importance of a cultural connection to their adopted child's place of birth through food. Very important. So that was a really good episode, and I really enjoy that podcast. Another episode that I recall was the search for Rosa Parks pancakes. And yep, you may not have known that the mother of the movement, or one of the many mamas in the movement, had a special pancake recipe that featured a pretty interesting ingredient. So if you want to check out the sporkful, I suggest you look up that episode and enjoy it. So that was another good one for me. Next, we're going to handle these eyebrows, and I'm using my Ulta Brow Expert in medium. Get some eyebrows on here over these fancy eyeballs, right? Okay, those are our eyebrows, and I'm gonna go on and do the rest of this look and come back with the final awesome podcast for this particular haul. So give me just 1 second. Okay, I've just gone in. I finished my contouring, my blush, highlight, of course, and I'm just now going in with a nude lip liner pencil, and that shade, of course, will vary depending on your shade of nude. And I'm gonna finish off everything with my lip color, which is called Burnt Red by Ulta. So really want to get into more reds this year. I'm not quite used to a bright red lip anymore, so I'm gonna start with this burnt red and work my way brighter as the year progresses. At least that's what I say I'm gonna do. So we'll see, right? Okay, that about does it for our holiday glam look. I don't even know, is it a glam look? Do I look glamorous? Am I the glamorous life? Like I said, I just wanted to take an opportunity to practice a little bit. And the last podcast that I want to say that I really enjoyed for 2017 is called Sleep With Me. Now, Sleep With Me is better known as the podcast that puts you to sleep. And it's for folks that have trouble falling asleep, whether it's insomnia or anxiety or a test the next day or anything that keeps you awake or keeps you from staying asleep. So it's a long, winding, sort of nonsensical, but interesting, somewhat, but not interesting enough to keep you awake story. The best way I can describe it is as a tangential meander, and I really enjoy it. I think of all the podcasts, that's the one I probably have listened to the most. Even though I don't really have problems falling asleep, I just like it. Sleep With Me, the podcast that puts you to sleep, is the last of our podcast haul for 2017. I plan on doing another one because I have a long list of podcasts in my subscription list. And so maybe this will be a regular feature. I don't know. If you listen to podcasts, I would love to know your favorites. So let me know. Also, I listen to them on my phone. The app is the podcast app. I listen to them on my laptop using Stitcher, which is a online platform for listening to podcasts. So again, I would love to hear what you're listening to, what's in your ear, and I will see you at the next video. As always, I hope you're having a wonderful day or night, and until next time, take care. I forgot my setting spray. Oh, okay. Okay.